Hey everybody, how are you? This is Jim Prusak from the Pain PT, and hope you guys are doing well today. I'm going to talk to you today about a real simple approach, which I always come back to, especially when I'm finding myself getting caught in my symptoms, if I have them, my emotions, my thoughts, basically anything that your brain can produce. What we want to try to do here in the simplest way is to perceive from our prefrontal cortex that what's happening in us is okay. That's it. If we're not actually interpreting a thought, a feeling, or a symptom as being okay, we're actually amplifying it in our brains and our bodies. So when we come from this premise that what's happening in us is okay, then we don't have to actually try to do anything about it. It's more about being with what's happening from a very open place, a place of allowance and acceptance. We've talked a lot about this before, and letting what happens happen. And the reason why this works so well is because a couple reasons. One, we're not amplifying the brain response from the emotional brain, from the limbic brain. This is the area of the brain that gives you heightened emotions, gives you heightened pain and symptoms, can produce thoughts. And we have an area of the brain, the medial prefrontal cortex, or the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And this area of the brain has been shown to be deficient in chronic pain, meaning it doesn't work very well, it's weak, it's smaller in size. And this is the part of the brain that perceives, deciphers, and sends an inhibitory signal for the other parts of the brain and for the nervous system and body to settle down. It's called descending inhibition. And what they're finding with people with chronic pain is people have lost that ability to get descending inhibition. So symptoms can run wild, emotions can run high, anxiety, fear, catastrophization, rumination, lots of negative thinking can run wild. Now we need to have some type of response to this irrational emotional limbic brain, which is spitting out all this stuff. It's like this brain is doing this. Okay? Now that's just a part of your brain. Now, if your brain is doing this, symptom, 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 associated emotions, fear, anger, frustration, despair, sadness, God, this is never going to go away. I feel terrible. When am I going to get better? Negative thoughts, negative thoughts. Are you accepting that? Are you fighting that? Are you reacting to that? What is your cortex of your brain doing? How is it responding to that? Now, there's only one answer, really. The answer is all this stuff doing this from the other parts of your brain, the amygdala, the temporal lobe, the parietal lobe of your brain, you have to perceive that as being okay, that there's not a problem with that, that this is just a learned response, a heightened reaction coming out of danger, perceived danger, coming out of conditioning that's going off in your brain and it's creating a reaction in your body, whether it's a symptom or a feeling. And our perception of that, if we can perceive what's happening in us as okay, that what is going on is just a brain response, it's not a problem, that sends a very strong message to these parts of the brain to quiet down, to settle down in time. Now remember, this prefrontal cortex is weak. It's like a muscle in your body. You want to strengthen a muscle by doing some curl, let's say bicep curls for your biceps muscle. This part of your brain needs repetition. It needs practice. It needs to continually, each day, fire off, learn to become stronger in its interpretation of what's going on. Now, again, like I said, there's one answer here that can do that. And the answer is that you accept what's happening because it's okay. You're trying to teach the other parts of your brain that you are okay. You're not in danger. There's not a problem here. So when we send that message back that whatever you're doing, it's okay, it's fine, it's just a discharge of my brain, then we can let that happen. Okay, so what I mean by this is a lot of times we get symptoms, we get elevated emotions, anxiety, we get rumination, negative thoughts, and we want to stop that. We want to put an end to it, avoid it, do anything to make it go away. Now, what type of message does that send to the brain? Well, it sends a message that there's a problem. If you want something to go away, you want to avoid it, you want it to end, that means you think something's wrong. That's how the brain interprets that. So what is it going to do? It's going to amplify the response. It's going to get stronger, whatever that response is. Let's say it's pain and then fear, associated negative thoughts. Or let's say it's another symptom and it's frustration and irritation or despair and associated negative thoughts. That loop is getting stronger. And what we want to do, because the problem of chronic pain a lot of times is in the brain, is we are trying to teach those parts of the brain that we're fine, we are okay. There's not a problem here. This is just an elevated brain response, a protective response in the brain. And we don't need to fear this. We don't need to be concerned about this. And so if we're not concerned about it, we're not worried about it, it's not a problem, and we're sending that message back to the amygdala and to the limbic brain from the cortex that says there's not a problem, it's okay, I accept this, then we can let that brain just do this, romp, romp, romp. Whatever it's saying, it will quiet down if you don't react to it. If you don't try to stop it, it will quiet down. It's sort of like that part of your brain ignites a spark. It's like that. And you get a quick reaction, which you will. You might get thoughts, feelings, symptoms. Now, that's going to happen. You can't stop it. That's deeper in the brain, pre-conscious. In less than a second that happens. So you cannot stop that. But what you can do is, how do you respond to that? What's happening in you? Thoughts, feelings, symptoms. How do you respond to those three things? So important. If you are responding from this place of it's okay, I accept this, it's not a problem, then you can let that happen. It just will be a quick spark that won't catch a flame and become a fire. You don't want this to turn into a wildfire. I live in California and we've had our fair share of wildfires, so I know a lot about them. But you don't want a wildfire in your brain, meaning you don't want this emotional brain, this limbic brain, to start firing off more, giving you more pain, more symptoms, more emotions, uncomfortable emotions, negative thoughts. So we have to catch it. So this comes from awareness. We have to catch our brain's reactions, and then how do we respond to that? This is conscious. This comes from, again, the prefrontal cortex. Your response to what's happening is everything. And I'm going to talk more about this in another video, about how we can deepen this ability to activate the prefrontal cortex and to get that online, to get that stronger so that it can send a descending inhibition message to the other parts of the brain and body. Now, I want you to take from this video here today that the best way to do that is to start perceiving what's happening as being okay. It's benign. It's not a problem. And then when we come from that message, it's not a problem, we don't need to do anything about it. Okay? It's like if there was something in your life happening and you weren't concerned about it, why would you do something about it? You wouldn't. You would just let it be. So, in a sense, every time you get this reaction in your brain, let it be, accept it, allow it, invite it in, let it express itself. Because if you do openly, it's going to go away in time. You've got to bring this sort of mental approach each and every day to strengthen your cortex, to gain some strength in it so that it can learn to respond in sort of a positive way that says you're okay, you're safe, you're fine, there's nothing going on here, and okay, do what you want, but I'm fine. So I hope this helps, guys. There's a lot of science out there. I just did a blog post on my website. If you want to sign up for my blogs, I put a lot of research out there that's coming out in the world of chronic pain. You can go to www.thepainpt.com. You can sign up there for blog posts. I usually put something out at least once a week. And I just put one out this week about this medial prefrontal cortex and its association with chronic pain. Very highly implicated in the brain. And this is an area that we're trying to strengthen as part of our recovery process. Okay, guys, take care. I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.